What's up, guys? Ninth Jim here, bringing another Pokemon Sword and Shield VGC 2020 competitive video. Today's focus is going to be on Indeedee and preferably the female type, as they do have a little bit of differences, mostly just the move pool, I believe. They both still get their really good ability, and I believe the stats are the same, but they do get a different move pool, which is pretty good, and we like the female one a little bit more because of the move pool. So first off, we're going to talk about its ability here, being Psychic Surge, a ability that was unique to Tapu Lele before, and now Indeedee gets it, so that's really cool. It's a really good ability, being whenever it's switched in, it changes the Psychic terrain to Psychic, It changes the terrain to Psychic terrain, which is very powerful. So we'll go over the Psychic terrain here, what it does. So what it does is it stops ability or attacks with speed priority 1 or higher. So it stops things like Fake Out. It stops prankster Pokemon from using moves that affect grounded Pokemon. And this also, another thing to keep in mind is this only affects Pokemon on the ground. So you can still Fake Out a Pokemon that's in the air. So like you can still Fake Out like a Corviknight or a Braviary or a Togekiss or something. Although I wouldn't advise doing Fake Out to a Togekiss, as most of the time it will Dynamax turn 1 to get off the speed, and same with Braviary. But anyway, that's not the point of this. Is speed priority of 1 or higher is negated, so it stops Fake Out. It stops Encore on a Whimsicott. It stops Fake Tears on a Whimsicott. It stops anything that targets a grounded Pokemon with the speed priority. So that's really interesting. Also, this does not affect moves with increased priority that the user is using on themselves. So something like a Gale Wings Pokemon using Roost, it does not stop that. I don't think anything has Gale Wings in this gen, but still, things like that on its own. It changes Nature Power to Psychic. That's probably not going to be very relevant. And then Psychic type moves are boosted 30%. They were 50% before, now it's 30%. Still really good. So you have like a Pokemon like Indeedee using its Psychic. It's already Stab, and then it gains 30% boosted off of the terrain. So that like it gets really powerful. Starts doing really good damage actually. And then if a Pokemon holds Psychic Seed, it pops the Psychic Seed. It's a consumable item, and then it gives special defense boost. This is important because we will be talking about a couple of tactics that use that, because that is actually very, very powerful. Anyway, going into the Pokemon itself, Indeedee female, Psychic Surge is an amazing ability. It's normal Psychic, which is kind of cool because the normal kills the ghost the ghost weakness that it has. So Psychic normal is not bad. Psychic is a powerful type, honestly. It's very, very strong. So we're looking at the female here. So level up female, some stuff here. Baton Pass is cool. We're not using that on any of our builds, but it is there. Helping Hand is actually very powerful. Follow Me is also very powerful. We're using both of these support attacks there. Those are really good. Aromatherapy is viable, but we're not really using it. It's still a cool attack, though, to have. Calm Mind is also pretty good. Guard Split is interesting. It changes the defense and special defense, or it averages the defense and special defense. So that's pretty interesting. But we're not using that on any of our own builds here. Psychic Terrain, we already have the ability. And then Healing Wish is also kind of cool, but we're not using it really. And then let's see here. This is, so for it will have both here. So we'll just check over it. Light Screen, it does get Light Screen, so that's cool, and Reflect, but we're not that fast. And if you want to set screens, like there's better stuff to set screens with, something like Grimmsnarl, or like even Whimsicott, or even Dragapult, as we've seen in support Dragapult builds. So that's really interesting as well. Safeguard is also kind of cool to get. Protect, obviously, we're going to say that every time, even though we know it every time. Helping Hand, we already knew we got. Imprison is actually pretty interesting, as it does get Trick Room. You can imprison opposing Trick Room users while having Trick Room on this Pokemon. That's pretty cool. It gets Power Swap, or no, Power Swap is only on the male, so no Power Swap, but Guard Swap, like we were saying. Trick Room is only male, actually, so never mind the Imprison. Imprison Trick Room only works for the male, so that's interesting. Might make a build for the male as well, but today we're focusing on the female. And then these last couple of attacks, it gets Mystical Fire, which is pretty interesting if you need some fire coverage. It's a really good attack, 75 base power, and then it lowers the special attack stat of the opposing Pokemon 100% of the time. So that's really interesting as well. Obviously, Psychic is going to be our attack of choice here. Substitute's kind of interesting that it gets, and that's cool. Baton Pass. Encore is only on the male, so don't forget that. It's weird being these two Pokemon, the male and female, are so different, but they are. Trick it gets on the female, so that's cool as well. And Ally Switch is another one that's really cool. Dazzling Gleam is another offensive coverage move that, in case you need that, it's pretty good. It hits both opponents at 80 base power. It'll switch down for that. Anyway, egg moves, we get Fake Out. But like I was saying, Fake Out may not be as strong since we put up Psychic Terrain, but it's still an option that you might want to use, as you can hit birds and stuff like that. So anything off the ground. Bronzong, you can hit Bronzong, that's pretty interesting as well. And then you can also get Psycho Shift, which we don't care about. Heal Pulse we do care about, though. Like I said, that's a really good way of healing. It heals a certain target, half of its max HP, which is actually very powerful. Using that on your own Pokemon is really good. So anyway, then we're going to look at the stats here. The stats for female. They are actually a little different, which is pretty cool. So we're going to be focusing on the female, of course. So speed 85 is not bad speed. It's not insanely fast, but it's really not that bad. It's a good mid-tier. So it will, if you play on Trick Room teams, you can outspeed the mid-tier and higher stats. So 85 is actually not that bad at all. As far as defenses go, 70 HP, 65 defense, and 105 special defense. None of it's insane except the special defense. Special defense at 105 is actually pretty decent, so that's pretty good to know. Defense at 65 is not great, and 70 HP is also not great. Not the worst, but not great. Attack is awful, but we're only using special attack, so 95 is actually a pretty good special attack stat. So yeah, I mean, now that we've overviewed Indeedee-F, let's go ahead and go into a couple of builds and some strategies here. So the first one we have is obviously Psychic Surge, as that's half the reason we're even playing this Pokemon in general. We're running Focus Sash just because he's not that bulky, as I was saying. You can definitely use something else. So another good option is Colbur Berry. Having the super effective dark attacks damage. So usually it's going to be for like Crunch from an opposing Tyranitar or potentially Scrafty. There's a couple of things that could help for. Hydreigon for Dark Pulse. As we're not that bulky, although it's mostly for the attack stats, because we could probably live a special defense. We could probably live a Dark Pulse potentially from a Hydreigon, but Colbur Berry is there as well as an option. I like Focus Sash for certain builds. It depends if you're using it to set up Trick Room with Hatterene, then you're definitely gonna want to use Focus Sash because you're just gonna follow me. You want to absorb both attacks, so that Hatterene can guarantee get Trick Room up, and a couple of other reasons. But I like the Focus Sash a lot in general, just to be able to get up a Follow Me or potentially Helping Hand and then still live an attack. So this Pokemon likes Focus Sash a lot. Into the moves, we have Follow Me, Protect, Helping Hand, Psychic. Follow Me is half the reason we like this Pokemon, as the male version does not get Follow Me. It does get Trick Room and Prison, which is pretty cool, but Follow Me is half the reason this guy is so good. Protect, of course, like usually we're just going to put Protect on most Mons in general. Helping Hand is another really good thing here. We can Follow Me, Focus Sash, live, and then next turn Helping Hand once Trick Room is set up with Hatterene to make its Psychic do insane damage. Especially with the Psychic Surge, the terrain already up, Hatterene's just gonna start doing absurd damage if you can live. And then Psychic for our last attack as its stab. It's also because of the Psychic terrain makes Psychic insanely powerful. For our investments, we maxed our special attack so that the Psychic is insanely powerful. Focus Sash lets us stay a little bit bulkier with that first attack. Other than that, like I said, its natural bulk isn't the worst, especially against special defense, special attacks in general. But we went 252 into HP, 252 into special attack, and then 4 into defense. Since its defense is so low, we also gave it relaxed nature. This is the Trick Room spread, so we also have 0 on IVs in speed and then a hindering nature for speed, making our speed 81, which is not insanely low, but like we said, we get to outspeed everything in the mid tier to faster Pokemon in under Trick Room. So Hatterene just wants to be able to get Trick Room up. So that's kind of the Indeedee Hatterene combo, is Indeedee puts up Follow Me, Hatterene then gets Trick Room. If Indeedee lives, then you get to Helping Hand on the Psychic, or just double Psychic, and you're doing a lot of damage right off the bat with Hatterene and Indeedee. And then you have Trick Room set up and can bring in stuff like Rhyperior or Torkoal and just start to sweep. So that's a really good and very, you'll see that a lot on the ladder, is Indeedee Hatterene combo. It's a very good combo. One of the earliest combos that people thought about in general for Trick Room, as it is very good. So that's that build. Then the other one, like we said, here is Colberberry. We also have the same investments and the same attacks here. Although this is a non-Trick Room, so instead of 0 IVs into speed, we have max IVs, of course. And then instead of the hindering nature on speed, we use Bold to be plus defense minus attack, and then that gives us 105 speed here instead of the, I believe, 81, right? Yeah. So, I mean, that just helps out a little bit in general. Not too slow. We still have Follow Me, Protect, Psychic, Helping Hand is really good moveset with Psychic Surge. Colberberry, like I said, this could be Colberberry, this could be Focus Sash, this could be even something like Choice Specs. Indeedee, I've seen that before. Gets very powerful, but then you will not have the nearly as good survivability, being able to protect yourself from Crunch or Dark Pulse, like we were saying with the Colberberry, and then also just guaranteeing yourself a life with the Focus Sash. So that's also another good option. But if you want to just go all in on attack, go for Choice Specs. It's fine. And if you do, you'll want to definitely change this setup a lot. Psychic would then, it would be like Psychic, Dazzling Gleam, Magical Fire, something else. Energy Ball maybe, depending on what else you need. Maybe Fake Out, but then you're going to have to Fake Out and then switch out, because then you'd be spec'd. But that's just another option. If you're looking for an actual offensive Indeedee specs with this kind of move pool is pretty good. Instead of Follow Me, maybe the Mystical Fire, like we were saying. That's a good option. So that's another really strong option that you could go with. For the last Indeedee set, we don't actually have an actual set. This is just some excess attacks that we might want to use. The Mystical Fire we touched on a little bit, guaranteeing a special attack lower by 1 stage. Very good. It's really strong. Fire, 75% power is not bad, or 75 power, not percent, is good. Fake Out, like we said, also, but just keep in mind that it won't affect Pokemon that are grounded, so make sure to remember that. And then Heal Pulse, we also touched on that for a second, 50% of its max HP. That'll definitely be used with the Hatterene combo as well a lot of the time, so keep an eye out for that. It might be over, like, instead of potentially the Helping Hand, maybe Protect, so keep that in mind as well. And then we also have access to Ally Switch, which is always a very viable strategy, being able to Ally Switch. We see that on random Pokemon sometimes, like something like a Dragapult, and potentially just other Pokemon in general. Ally Switch is pretty strong, making your opponent not really know exactly what to do, as they know that you can Ally Switch in the future again, and it kind of gives you a turn sometimes for free, just switching around. It's really good. So all of these are also very viable attacks that you might want to put on. Like I said, Indeedee has a very good move pool. All of these, it can also be used as specs for really powerful all offensive attacks. It's a very good option as well. Then a couple of other strategies we have is Indeedee Hawlucha. That is actually played pretty frequently, with Hawlucha having the ability on Burden whenever it doesn't have an item, or whenever its held item is gone, it doubles its speed, which is insane actually. It's already 118 base speed, so this guy gets so fast with Unburden. You give it Psychic Seed, and then whenever the terrain is active, you special defense gain 1, and then this is consumed, making your Unburden, giving you double speed, also giving you a stat increase in special defense, and then also having access to acrobatics, which doubles the power when there's no held item, which is already 55 stab, so it goes to 110 base with stab, so it's really powerful. Psychic Seed, Hawlucha, Indeedee is very powerful. So that's cool. You just put out a very powerful, very fast threat immediately on the field with a stat buff in its bulk, since its bulk is actually very low originally, 78, 75, and 63. Not the worst, but not very, not there. And then our last little synergy here is Corviknight. This was brought to light by Wolfie, being Psychic Seed on this, and then you have access to bulk up and Iron Defense, making this Corviknight just a really big threat right out of the gate. It's really hard to deal with. It's going to be huge. You can't intimidate it. It's mirror armor. You just want to burn this thing immediately. If you see this happening in Indeedee, Corviknight, you want to burn this guy. Keep him away. Keep him not like as much of a threat. Iron Defense, bulk up. It also has access to Roost. So this Pokemon is just an annoying Pokemon right out the gate. So Indeedee Corviknight is another thing that you'll want to watch out for. Indeedee Hawlucha and Indeedee Hatterene. Those are the three main synergies that I can think of with Indeedee. There's obviously other stuff, and Indeedee can definitely be played on its own. This Pokemon is just really good in general, has access to a lot of great moves, an amazing ability that only was used on Tapu Lele, one of the Guardians, before one of the Island Guardians, so that's another thing to remember, that this Pokemon is a baby Tapu Lele, and Tapu Lele was insane before, so that's really cool. So that's going to just about wrap this video up. We're about to hit 17 minutes or something, so kind of a long video again. But also I want to thank everybody for subscribing. We just hit 100 subs yesterday, so I'm really happy about that. That was a goal of mine for this year, and we did it in just about a month, so that's really awesome. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, if you like this kind of content, go ahead and like and subscribe, and also comment down below if you want to see anything else in the future. I also have a Discord. It was just brought to my attention that Discord links can expire. So if you want to be added into the Discord community, just comment down below, and I'll just comment the link under your comment, or like reply to that comment with the Discord link so that you can join into that. I don't have very many people in there yet, so it's still a very small community, and I'll help with whatever, if you need team advice or really anything. So yeah, thank you for watching, and have a good evening, and happy holidays.